For the past 2 weeks, Captain Picard has served as a mediator in a trade dispute between the Gamorreans and their nearest neighbor, the Dacklids. The Astrophysicist Center on Icor 9 is holding a symposium on rogue star clusters, and Commander Riker has mentioned how imaginative the Ryzian women are. A little too often. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 19, Captain's Holiday. Written by Ira Steven Behr, directed by Chip Chalmers. This was March 31st, 1990. Where were you? Special thanks to our good friends Robert Kaiser and Barnett Sue for sponsoring this episode. Thank you very much, Robert and Barnett. We've got an amazing special guest today, everybody. He was an assistant director on like a dozen episodes in The Next Generation. He directed The Magnificent Ferengi, as well as Take Me Out to the Holosuite, two huge favorites from Deep Space Nine, and 4 episodes of The Next Generation, including today's episode, of course. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Chip Chalmers.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Welcome.
Yes.
Good to have you.
Two of our, first of all,
these are just great
Deep Space Nine episodes, right?
I'm literally
Amazing.
writing the episode down. I'm like, the Magnificent Ferengi. And Take Me Out to the Holosuite. We were just talking about how amazing that episode was. It seems like you get to do all the fun episodes. Right off top, I'm going to ask you, are you the guy they call for the fun episodes? Because this episode, Captain's Holiday, just gave me I was smiling and having fun the whole time.
I was too, man. I was too. What happened was I got to know Ira after, Captain's Holiday, and he realized I had a kind of a sense of humor directing, and I did with pretty much everything I did, because you can't be all dramatic and not let him off the hook every once in a while. So he was already kind of a fan, and that's why he gave me those 2 amazing Deep Space Nine episodes. So funny. Way to use the Magnificent Ferengi was hysterical.
So I want to ask you, Chip, how do you get everybody? Because there's a lot of stiffness on this show, at least from what we see on screen. I've heard off screen it's been a little bit of a funner place to be at, supposedly, than Deep Space Nine from the rumors, but on screen there's a little bit of a stiffness. How do you get everybody to loosen up and have fun like they did in this episode?
You get them out of their uniforms. Get Picard out of his uniform and put him in some summer clothing and send him to Risa, and boy, he's a happy camper.
That's actually a really good point. A lot of actors, they get into character as they're getting their alien makeup put on or they're getting their uniform put on. You take that off, that probably would loosen them up a bit.
He starts off a little stiff when he first gets to Risa, but he loosens up pretty quickly and starts falling in love a little bit by little bit. Exploration in the cave, sleeping overnight, and then eventually starts being very concerned about her.
Can we? Sorry, go ahead, Cirroc.
No, I wanted to ask about Mr. Patrick Stewart's demeanor when he was wearing those Daisy Dukes. Was he comfortable walking around? Was he comfortable? Was there a level of playfulness about it? How was his demeanor in that particular outfit that was really revealing?
Pun intended.
He was very relaxed. Of course, he started off laying in a lounger in the sun outdoors, which was of course indoors. If you watch that scene very carefully, when he's on the lounger with his book, reading his book, there's a shot where you can see bright red E-fan. You know what those are for Cirroc, where they set them up and they blow the foliage. So it looks like it's outdoors. There is that red E-fan blowing the foliage right on screen.
I did not
see
see
that.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, Chip,
Star Trek
I wanted to ask you, because I had no idea that you had also AD'd, assistant directed on a dozen episodes of Next Generation before this. Obviously, that's a career path that most people do. You know, they kind of move up the ranks. But can you talk a little bit about making that transition from assistant director to director? What was Star Trek your Next Generation one of your very first projects directing? How did that come about?
No, I was on Miami Vice. I was first assistant director on Miami Vice. And what started happening is that as directors failed to complete 7 days of work, they would leave a scene left over at the Organized Crime Bureau. And every 2 or 3 episodes, we'd have to pick up those scenes. And since I was the first AD on most of them, they let me direct those scenes because I knew it would send me a cut, and I knew how to transition in and out of the cut with that scene. And so, and I had been studying directors for years and years and years. I did probably, I don't know, hundreds of episodes as an assistant director. So I pick up the good things and the bad things. I try to be as much of the good things as I can. And one day we were sitting at lunch, and Don Johnson walked up and sat down beside me, and he said, "Hey, kid, I'm going to get you an episode to direct." What, really? He goes, yeah, man, you deserve it. So I got an episode to direct, and it was a funny one. So it was an oddball out episode. It was really strange, but so I directed the episode. It felt like it fit just like a glove. And when I came back to LA, I said, "Aha, I'm a director." Star Trek said, "Aha, no, you're not." And so I did a number of episodes, including Best of Both Worlds Part 1. It's a pretty big favorite of the Star Trek fans. Mm-hmm. And I showed my Miami Vice to Rick Berman, and he said, "Well, heck, let's get you in there." So they gave me this show. They gave me this particular episode. Correct.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. So was it Don Johnson that first made the kind of vouch for you? Is that he said, "We're going to get you in"?
Yeah. Well, you have to understand we're in Miami, right? Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. And Universal is 3,500 miles away. And so whatever Don did. That was it. You know, nobody argued with him. So he said, "Hey, Chalmers is going to direct the next episode." And they went, "Okay." So he went to Rick, and I showed him my tape of Miami Vice, and he said, "Cool, I'm in." So that's how it happened.
You know, Chip, I just got to point out that, I mean, we've touched on it a bit, but the first 3 episodes you directed that we've seen as a podcast, the 2 Deep Space Nine episodes, Magnificent Ferengi, Take Me Out to the Holosuite, and this one, are 3 of the most iconic Star Trek episodes ever. I mean, I made a shirt off of this episode. And the Magnificent Ferengi, huge. Everybody knows and loves it. Ira knows and loves it, of course. Mm-hmm. And Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
I mean, these are iconic episodes. Did you have any idea when you would read the scripts beforehand thinking, you know what? I think there's gold in this script? Or was it kind of like you don't know what's going to stick? You don't know which one's going to hit with the fans and which one's not?
Well, 2 things I am as a director are confident and fast. I mean, when we were doing that baseball episode of Deep Space, I had 5 cameras out there. Cirroc will vouch for that. And to have 5 cameras going on in your brain, really have to know where they go and what they do. So I didn't have to worry about the confidence or the speed. I was mostly concerned about getting that realistic performance that is yet got that comic turn to it. Because Patrick Stewart is not exactly a comedian. So but you know, when he turns around and punches Max in the nose, you know, and lays him out flat on the lounger, that's a pretty funny moment.
I called that the Picard punch, because he does one of these when he takes it, he switches it up, and he leans it back, and I'm like, dude, how long does it take to set up your punch, man? It
felt like we were watching Indiana Jones for a second.
It's so telegraphed. Yeah, it was so telegraphed.
So easy. Go ahead,
Chip. You mentioned Max. Cirroc, did you notice Max Grodenshick
I wrote down Max G. Gotta be. I wrote it down right here.
Only really felt like Max Grodenshick when he started like losing his mind and freaking out in the cave. That's when you're like, okay, that's Max all the way. But Chip, you are the one that originally cast Max Grodenshick. You are the person we have to thank for his long and illustrious Star Trek career. Do you remember that process? Do you remember what it was that stuck out about him that you liked?
I do. He, as you know, he's a little bit taller than a lot of the Ferengi, but boy, he had an edge to him. He had just that real oddball sort of edge that was, you know, he was a little bit more, you know, a little bit more evil in that episode of Next Generation than he was in Star Trek 9. He was so lovable in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But he came in and he was wonderful. He was just perfect for the part. It's not all my responsibility to cast him. That has to do with the producers as well. But that was his first one.
So cool.
I love Max.
I'm curious because Chip, it looks like a lot of the episodes that you've done are heavily featured outside of the main bridge or the set of the ship, and like pretty much all of them, they're not set in the main stages that we're used to seeing. You get a lot of location stuff. In this one, you had the cave scenes, you had all the rises stuff. So one, you know, are they bringing you in because they want to see your style on the outside of the ship stuff, you know? And two,
I hope so.
Because I loved it. Because I was thinking, wow, this is a whole, like, how many sets did they have to build for this particular episode? So I wondered about also the art direction and stuff, the meetings that you had when you were setting up some of these stages, and what was that like? Because also the color choices you made, it looked like there was a little bit more of an orange kind of color to the hues. So what were those choices like?
Well, that was an easy choice. This was an outdoor set. We had regular sunlight coming in through the set. Just the scene in the bedroom. That was all. I wanted it to look like natural sunlight, and so you put more reds and oranges into the lights and make it look more like daylight is coming in. That was easy. The ship is pretty much, as you know, to light. You just throw a master switch, and it's already hung, and it comes on. To do the close-ups, you bring in some closer lights, but mostly it's all lit on the green beds up top above you. It was a conscious choice, and the set was not my choice. The cave. Because Paramount has that stage 18, that had a pool. So we just, removed the floorboards and built a cave down in the pool. a huge cavernous thing, and it was all built below ground, below stage level, and so they built that from scratch. I told them what I had in mind with where they were going, and all you have to do, really, you remember shots looking up from the cave, looking up at the two strange characters from wherever they were from. So that was a pretty steep angle. But I told them where I wanted to be and which directions I could shoot to make it look like they're going down a different part of the cave and things like that. It's somewhat like Deep Space Nine, where you go around, the circle, and then you turn around and go the circle the other way, and it's like a continuous shot going round and round. But but that was fun, going by Odo's office, and he's practicing his umpire calls and all that stuff. That was that was fun. That was fun, man. Really great. But the cave was underground. Back to Next Generation, and the regular set was on a different stage, and it was all pre-built. No, it was not. I'm sorry, it wasn't pre-built. It was built exactly for that scene, and it was three sides, but one side was almost all plants and foliage, and it looked like there were two places, because one place had all those Orgon statues, around the idol, on the big idol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hang on.
Wow! There it is.
Wow.
You've got a Horgon.
That's the hero prop.
Wow.
That's the one that Patrick used. It's the only one that opened up.
Yeah.
The rest of them were all just.
And it had
fakes.
it had the thing in there too.
Was it the Tox Utot?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
I think refreshing my memory.
That's amazing. You have the original Horgon statue with the Toxutot in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I want to piggyback off of Ryan's question, because those Horgon statues and a lot of the things that you filmed became such legendary canon for the culture, right? And so we celebrate Ryza, we celebrate those little Horgon statues. Were you aware at the time that this is something that would become such a big part of the lore? Or?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was an interesting part of the set. It was a great idea, a great gag for Jonathan to, ask him to bring one back. Frakes.
That was so funny.
That sort of thing. He knew all about it. Of course, he was just sending Picard to his heaven. Chill out. It didn't take him long. It was that was an awkward scene. The very first girl who came over to her.
Yeah.
She did that without any sort of covering at all, and it was a clear costume. And as soon as she did that, the director of photography came over and said, "You might want to put something on her,
some tape or something."
Some tape. I don't know whether you tape or a nude bra or whatever it was, but that was a shocker. As soon as she got under the lights, it was like, okay, no, we can't do that. So
Gene Roddenberry would have been like, perfect print.
Ira would have loved it. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell everybody at home that one thing assistant directors are known as is they're generally the hardest working people on a set. At least certainly in my experience, I think in most people's experience, they're the ones with the red face, following the schedule, making sure everything is going. I mean, they're just the hardest workers. And, so I think it's amazing. You seem so chill. You got this sense of humor. What an interesting blend. But I know as an associate producer, sorry, I keep saying that, as an assistant director, you got fire in your veins, because you really have to have that to be a successful AD. And when I was watching this episode, I was noticing that they crammed a lot into it. There's tons of different sets. There's almost this entire story at the beginning of Picard and Riker and Troy and Beverly and all this stuff. It's almost like its own little episode. And then he goes down to the planet. And then there's another big episode. There's different characters, different storylines. Then they go into the caves. There's the love interest. Was there anything you had to cut out? Or were they just like, all right, this guy's an AD. He can do it. He can knock it all out in 1 week.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. They probably checked with some of the Miami Vice folks and said, is he good? Is he fast? Is he, but I'm the same way as an assistant director. I never yell or scream or anything. It's a lot more respect with sugar and not vinegar. So I used to try and prove to them every day that I'd lay down in the front of a steam locomotive for them. And in turn, they would do that for me. And I would stay around afterwards every day and walk around and shake everybody's hand and say thank you. And Cirroc was out there in the hot sun every day throwing those bullets. That was so cool. I'm sorry. I should show you this too.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Right. That is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the last shot?
Yeah, the baseball flying.
The baseball flying up in the air that the whole cast had signed.
Mm-hmm.
That really pissed what's his face off. Remember that?
Yes.
So I had them. What I had them do is I had them throw it up a couple of times and spin it, and they ramped up the speed so it slowed down, and it became the ship.
Can you show us Cirroc's signature again on there?
Yeah.
Everybody that's just listening in, Chip has the actual baseball that was used in the final scene, and it's signed by the entire cast. And he's got all the signatures. There it is. There's Cirroc. Wow, that's you, Cirroc. No mistaking it.
Yeah, that's my signature. Chip, you're thinking so far ahead. You got the statue, you got the baseball. You're like, yo, that's coming with me. That's coming with me.
I've got the Ferengi rules of acquisition that are all signed by all the Ferengi. So,
oh, nice.
Oh my God, that's great. You seem to have so much fun, and you mentioned about the speed. I wanted to ask you, did your speed in directing come from your work as an AD? I mean, is that where you realize, okay, there's a timetable, we need to meet these goals, and I'm just going to be quick about it?
Yeah. Here's what I did. After the first day, after the first morning, people knew that I was going to print take 1, take 2, maybe take 3. So they had to bring it. They had to bring it every single time. They had to be ready. They knew I could print take 1. If I liked it, if I thought it was good, I'd print take 1. Let's go. Let's move on. And in the meantime, while they're rehearsing, I'm going off to the next set with the director of photography, the gaffer, the chief electrician, and the key grip. And I'm saying, take this wall out. I'm only going to shoot this way and this way. I'll never shoot back here. So put the camera and the crew back here where the wall's gone. And by the time we got there, that was all done.
Beautiful.
So we go right into rehearsing, go right into lighting, and it's that pace. And on Vice, I mean, we were never in a stable set. I was here, there, and everywhere. So they needed to know. If I told the Teamsters, I'll never shoot that way, and they showed up, and they parked all the trucks up and down the street, and I said, guys, I need to shoot down that way. That's it for me. I'm done. They won't have me back. You mess with the team. Yeah, mess with the Teamsters. That's death. So figuratively,
of course.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
confident
Miami Vice was a lot of location stuff, right? You were always somewhere.
always. And Monday was crack of dawn. Tuesday was crack of dawn. Wednesday was noon to midnight. Thursday and Friday were all dark to dawn. No, I used to, as a first AD, I used to tell everybody, "Let's go. We're losing the dark. It's, the sun's coming up. We're almost done."
Wow.
And that classic, "We're losing the light because of the sunset."
We're losing daylight.
Yeah, we're losing dark. Let's go, guys. So
wow.
Well, Chip, we're just about out of time here. But before you go, I just want to point out it wasn't just Miami Vice. You worked on so many great shows that people know. A couple notable ones for me. I believe you were an AD on a show called Manimal. I remember Manimal, and I was so sad that it got canceled. I loved Manimal. Also Models Inc., Burke's Law, Malibu Shores, Pacific Palisades, Mortal Kombat, Melrose Place, Beverly Hills 90210, Seventh Heaven. I mean, a lot of shows that people know very well. Quite the illustrious career. But Chip, we really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate your work.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Guys, Cirroc, it was so good to see you. Ryan, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for inviting me here. I had a blast. Had such a good time. Bringing it all back is always, it puts a smile on my face. So thank you very, very much.
Right. We hope to see you again.
Yeah, we hope to see you again.
All right. Everybody stick around. We will be right back with more coverage of this excellent episode on The Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. Wasn't Chip Chalmers awesome? Love that dude. Hope he can come back.
Yeah.
Here they are. 2 Vorgons. That's these guys. Look at this. Yeah. Ryan T. Husk the Nerd's got a Vorgon.
Got a Vorgon.
2 Vorgons are looking for the lodging chamber of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. For the past 2 weeks, Captain Picard has served as a mediator in a trade dispute between the Gamarians and their nearest neighbor, the Dakleds. Captain Picard lied to Beverly Crusher about his 4 days on Zichin. I write these down. I don't remember how to pronounce them. Zeitchen. What is it?
4?
Zeitkin 3, something like that. I'll have to watch the episode again. The Astrophysicists Center on Icor 9 is holding a symposium on rogue star clusters. There are 2 ensigns on Deck 39 who know nothing about the crew's scheme. Commander Riker has mentioned how imaginative the Ryzian women are, a little too often, according to Deanna Troi, which was hilarious. Captain Picard doesn't even know what Jamaharan means, and Sarthonians are merciless to trespassers. All right. There's a lot going on in this episode. I need to figure out how to say. How many
names did they come up with?
Zeitkin. Anyway.
Yeah, there's too many names in one episode for me to even try to remember them all.
I laughed a lot in this episode. From the very beginning, when Picard comes back and Riker says, "Congratulations." Picard says, "About what?" He says, "The trade agreement." And Picard just goes, "Huh?" I don't know. Chip did such a great job of pulling the humor out of these people. He might not have had to try too hard with Riker, because Riker was like gold, right?
Oh God, he was having too much fun. He needed to tone it back a little bit.
Yeah,
I was like, I've never seen a guy so excited for another guy about to get some. It was like it was a little bit too much. It's like, tone it back, take it down a notch. But
that's Riker.
But that's Riker. That's what. But Horgons and Vorgons. I mean, it was a lot of Orgons.
Yeah. Horgons and Vorgons and Vosh. Oh my, right?
Yeah. But I did find myself laughing a lot too. My favorite little laugh was one Troy says at the end, "Was it a relaxing trip, Captain?" And he was like, "Uh-huh." he did not want to answer that question. He did not want to even go there. But he had a lot of funny moments in this.
Definitely.
He was really great, and the chemistry with Bosch was undeniable.
Yeah, this was our introduction to Vosh, who we know came to Deep Space Nine once with Q. It's kind of weird to be watching those episodes and then coming back and
Yeah,
seeing these.
I
But
remember seeing her.
here's
Yeah,
her
yeah.
action figure right here. I don't know if that's from this episode or what, but I don't think it's this episode. And the Vorgon, and they could wrestle and stuff.
Vosh had a action figure.
Yeah, yeah. This little nerd got them all back in the day. And I went and tracked him
Oh,
down today because I was like, wait a minute. Because I mean, okay, the Vorgon, I'm like, this is a very memorable one. You know that when you see these on screen, you definitely recognize this little rascal and his head. I also thought about
yeah,
Michael Westmore and the amount of
yeah,
work he put into that Vorgon face. It was pretty awesome, right?
yeah. That face was amazing. Actually, there were a few aliens in this episode. I thought to myself about Michael Westmore. Just having to do the makeup work for all of these people. The Ferengi, obviously, you saw that Max, even though he's still playing a Ferengi, that nose was so much different than the nose that he got on DS9 that he looks different. Like
Hmm.
he doesn't look like the same Ferengi. It's amazing that um, just different kinds of makeup applied on the same actor can, even in the same alien species, can still have such a variety. I thought that was also noticeable for me.
So
But yeah,
this beginning part was really interesting to me because I may have taken the most notes for that just beginning stuff on the Enterprise because there was a whole story that happened in like 7 minutes, right? There was so much to it. First we're talking about the trade agreement. Picard, they need to assess how bad Picard's doing. Then they all conspire. Riker's got this great look at one point. I don't remember where it is, but there was something that, oh, there it is. Picard says, when they mention Loxana Troy, of course, that's a NAM for her,
mhm,
non-appearance
yeah,
mention. Picard says,
yeah,
I look forward to a week of continual harassment on this subject, right? Basically saying, if I stay here, you guys are just not going to let me hear the end of it. And then all Riker does is a smile and nod. He's it's smile. And it was like the
yeah.
cutest Riker. You're like, this is why we love Riker. He's got that gleam in his eye and the smirk, and it was perfectly captured. I just love that kind of stuff. I love it.
Yeah, he was full of that gleam in his eye. I really loved how much fun he was having. And for example, the Riker and Picard in the elevator scene when Riker's trying to pitch him on the idea and he finally says, and they both say the women, of course, the women, like Patrick Stewart's like, yeah, I know what you like, bro.
Yeah, I know
The
Riker.
women. Yeah, he's like, and the women, yeah, the women, of course. Yes, I know. I got it. That had me laughing a few times. I rewound that a few times because just the
Yeah.
chemistry there,
And there
you
was
know?
something in that turbo lift I actually wanted to mention to Chip, but didn't have the time. There was just a cool camera shot, because it's following them in. It's pretty simple, nothing special, but it was executed really well. The camera was following in, I think it was Picard, and then Picard turns around and faces Riker, and then the camera focuses onto Riker. And it was just a nice, interesting shot. You know why they chose that shot and what they were thinking. It just looked good. And sometimes just a pretty standard but well executed shot stands out, and that's what that did for me. Just a kind of a minor note, but anyway, you were
Yeah,
saying.
I was gonna ask him also about just the doors because those doors in Rise are like angular and they had like a stepladder design and two wooden doors that would come together. And I was the first time I'd seen that as well. So I was just wondering what kind of thought or conversations went into the set design with the doors. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many things when you look at this set. The location, the amount of the locations kind of surprised me because it felt
Mhm.
like they were like moving around. It felt like there was a lot of, for example, her quarters, his quarters on Risa. There was the courtyard kind of area where the Ferengi interaction happened. There was the lounge pool chair area. So it just felt like there was a lot of set, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like it must have been daunting to read that script and think, wow, there are a lot of locations here. We don't
Yeah.
have the budget to just be going from different location to different location. We just have to build these sets. We got to make something look like an outdoor courtyard. We got to make something look like the lounge area. We got to do these different quarters. We got to do the caves, but also
Mm-hmm.
the night before where Picard and Vosh are humping, they're out in some other cave dwelling thing or something. Like whew, that was a
Yeah.
lot.
And if you notice, the last time I saw Picard getting kind of humpy, I mean,
Frisky.
getting frisky.
Randy, no, British. He's Randy.
Yeah, getting randy was in a cave with Dr. Crusher. Remember they fell into that hole and they were there and he was like fixing her
Yes.
leg and
In
stuff.
Arsenal of Freedom.
Yeah, that was in a cave.
Wow,
And
maybe he's
so
got a
here,
thing for caves. You're right.
yeah, if Picard gets you alone in the cave, man, he gets turned on. He likes
Don't
that.
don't go in a cave with Picard. I wonder if that's a thing. Next time we see him in a cave, we'll see if he just starts like looking around, like, all right, who's around? Who do I?
Exactly.
So Picard walking into a cave is like a drunk guy at 1:45 a.m. in a bar. They kind of just start looking and be like, all right, well, who's here?
What are my options?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I noticed that I was like, wait a minute, did he get down busy in a cave the last time? So yeah, anytime Picard gets a little turned on, he's in a cave. I couldn't believe they got him to wear that outfit. I'm just surprised because is that your phaser or are you just happy to see me? I'm surprised they got him to wear that because he's
And then when
literally
he crosses his legs and then
yeah.
he like uncrosses them and then but then the camera
like,
turns, I was like, whew, that was a close one.
yeah, to put the shields up. It was crazy. It was crazy. And I love, like I said, I love the Picard switch hand slow motion punch on the Ferengi. It was just comical to
I
some
rewound
degree.
that too.
I don't know. There was a moment there where I was actually thinking that all of this was a program to occur because this is what Picard would have wanted as a relaxation event, right? So
yeah, like a
there was something
holodeck
in the
program.
back, like a holodeck program. Yeah, there was like something in the back of my head was acting, was telling me, oh, all of these events are unfolding because this is the type of adventure that would make Picard, relax or think about something else, take his mind off of other things. And so half of my brain was thinking that, like he's being challenged by the program to get out of his comfort zone and to, not do what he wants to do.
I thought something similar. I mean, I knew that it was not a program because I'd seen this episode a couple times before, but about midway through or 2/3 of the way through, I did catch myself thinking this is like a holodeck program episode. Just kind of the way it's all working out and all that. But I had to kind of remind myself, oh no, wait, it's not. Like, don't. My mind started wandering. Wait a minute, is this all a hologram? I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
I know that it's not. Why am I going in that direction? But it did have that feel. It just naturally had that kind of feel because he does not usually let himself relax unless it's in a controlled environment like a holodeck.
exactly. And what really got me that feeling that way was kind of like the back and forth when she says, she says, is that an order? And he's like, absolutely, it is. And
So good.
she's like, this isn't a starship, Jean-Luc. I don't follow orders. And his answer was great too. He says, oh, I see. And there was nothing in it. It was really just flat, but I liked the delivery.
Totally, because at least for me, when I love that line, that moment too, because it made me think, I bet that kind of thing seems accurate. Like it must be hard if you're a starship captain or a Navy captain or whatever it is, or a boss at work or something like that, to then come home and deprogram that, or to go off on vacation and deprogram that, because you're just so used to like when, especially because it wasn't like he was telling her, make me dinner or, go beat that guy up or anything. This was like a mission. This was a mission that needed to be done. So his captain's instincts kick in. He's like, all right, okay, here's the plan.
You'll
doing
stay
this
here. I'll go.
And she's like, bro, I don't work for you. This doesn't, it must be kind of a difficult realization when they go, oh, wait.
It was a reality check for him. It was like, yo, you're that ranking stuff. You can't pull rank on me. I'm a free person on vacation like you are. And if you want to ask me, you can ask me. But this is a conversation. This isn't a hierarchy thing. This is we're both on equal planes. And I thought she got her ground too and stood her ground in that kind of way for herself, saying, I'm not subservient to you. I'm not even being outwitted by this Ferengi who seems to be a step ahead, but I'm actually a step ahead of him too. So I can hold my ground with anybody. You can't give me orders. I like her standing up for herself in that way, but I also like the way he kind of had that realization, like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I can't do that, So
it was a good moment. I really liked it a lot, moment. And it felt natural to me. Like I felt like that is something that people will get difficulty with. That kind of thing could happen. I could definitely see it. Yeah. Definitely worked. It was a good moment.
Another moment that showed me their chemistry too, by the way, was when they were kind of, he says any woman that can beat a Ferengi in his own game bears watching, or something to that effect. And then she forcibly says to him, you're enjoying yourself, aren't you? And she basically makes him admit that he is. And that's another thing that I liked. It was like, he had to really say, yeah, actually, you know what? Yes, I am enjoying myself.
Yeah. And then they made out. She's like, good. I just wanted to hear you say it. Also a good moment, because, there are some people like that where they just refuse to admit that they're having a good, they can never let go like all the way, let their hair down or whatever until somebody says, just admit it. You're having fun. It's okay. It's okay to have fun. And he's like, well, yes, I'm having a good time. I like my booty shorts.
Yes. Exactly.
I want to know who dressed him. It did not seem like Patrick Stewart objected to what he was wearing. He may have been like, oh, this looks nice. Very cozy. It's like what I wear back in Great Britain.
Yeah, are those Starfleet issues though? I don't know.
I don't know.
But he did board the USS Kisser, and I was hoping he would. Get on there. Get on the ship.
The USS Kisser?
Yeah, I was hoping he would kiss her.
Kiss me.
And he did, so it was good.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did want to ask you, though, about Max Grodenchik. How quickly did you realize that was him?
Max's voice is pretty signature. So as soon as I heard the voice kind of gave it away. I'm really good at voices, and I heard his voice and I said, oh, that's got to be Max. Because as soon as you see a Ferengi, your first instinct is either Armin or Max, right? So even if it wasn't them, I would still be judging his performance based on their performance, right? They're the standard by which I would measure up a Ferengi performance against, and also Aaron Eisenberg. So it's that's the standard, right? So if I hear an accent, if I hear the voice, I'm listening for, how the teeth sound in the mouth and all of those kinds of little things. And so I would measure those, whatever performance I saw, up against their existing one. When I heard it was Max's voice, I said, oh, this is Max already. Just a different nose, just like a bigger kind of nose.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job of changing his voice up. I mean, it's still recognizable because he has such a different kind of voice, but he did
Well,
change it up in the first half.
Yeah, he didn't do
It
that.
snuck out a little bit at the end. I mean, we say
A
snuck
little
out, but Rom didn't exist back then, so it didn't sneak out. That was just all part of his performance.
Yeah.
But here's a question for you, Cirroc. Who gets the home run of today's episode?
The home run of the episode. I'm going to give it to the woman who plays Vosh.
Jennifer Hetrick, I think is her name.
Is that her name? Jennifer Hetrick?
So. Let me check. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. She was interesting. She was, complex enough for me to be mysterious and, intriguing. She was all of the above and just kept the mystery going with a good, this is like a treasure hunt, kind of like Indiana Jones's episode. This is like an Indiana Jones episode, kind of.
That's what I put in my notes too, especially when they put on the outfits.
Yeah. And so she is a good lead opposite an Indiana Jones character. Like I damn near could see her in an Indiana Jones movie, basically.
That's a good point.
So I think she did a great job guest starring in this episode. Of course, Patrick Stewart also would get my honorary, home run as part of the chemistry between the two of them. So those are the on-screen home runs, and then Ira gets the off-screen home run because I just loved the playfulness of the script. It felt like a good holiday.
Yeah, I agree with you on all counts. I thought I wrote down a lot of dialogue, and when you write down a lot of dialogue, that's the writer doing that. So big shout out to Ira. And I was a little surprised. I was like, wow, I don't remember Ira having this much humor in him, but he definitely did a great job there. Picard had some beautiful moments, lighthearted moments that we never see, but it worked very well. But yeah, I agree that Jennifer Hetrick probably gets the home run today because she walked in to a set. She was confident. She was charming. She also had the twinkle in her eye. She took what she wanted in more ways than one. And I think she gets the home run too. However, here are some people that we'd like to thank, and they deserve our thanks. Their names are Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Titus Mohler, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anil O. Polat, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Goo, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allyson Leach-Heid, Julie Manasfi, Greg K. Wickstrom, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Christopher D. Marshall, Joanna Junker, Roy Epen, and of course, Jason Okun. Oh, everybody, if you want this shirt, go to the Star Trek and Chill Shopify store. Star Trek and Chill. You can get this in any size, color, or whatever. Riza and Chill. You're going to love it. And so will your friends. We'll be right back with the free-for-all on the Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Seventh Rule, just in time for the free-for-all with Melissa Longo.
Hi.
Christopher. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Christopher Marshall is also here.
How's it going?
We also had, I was reading Chris McGee says, Chris seeking Jamaharan McGee is also here. Jason M. Okun is here. As is Dr. Mohamed Noor in a cool Sisko family shirt.
Woohoo.
We've got Carrie Schwent, #1 Cardinals fan, is here. Cardinals and Cubs, they hate each other so much. They're like bitter rivals. And of course, Allyson Leach-Heid wearing an awesome Riza shirt herself.
That's a cool shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it looks like just like a regular like Hawaii or Tahiti kind of shirt. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
This was fun. I'm gonna say like an 8.2.
Does anybody else have any guesses about what the score is on IMDb that doesn't already know?
I'd say a little higher, like 8.5.
I was thinking 8.3 myself.
I'll go a little under 7.8.
Say 7.4, but yeah.
Rude. You're never going to get Jamaharan that way.
Just knowing the internet.
Anybody else? No? Okay. The correct answer is no. Chris McGee definitely will get Jamaharan. He's the closest. It's a 7.2. What?
What?
Oh,
0.2.
it's like what?
Yeah, way too low.
Why
Bunch
is
of
it so
wet
I agree.
low?
That's the internet for you.
Wet bananas.
They haven't gotten to Maharan.
They need it.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you guys catch the non-appearance mention today?
Yes. The Waxana Troy.
That was a good one. I think that's it, right?
That's all I got.
And what about some kind of or some sort of? I didn't catch one.
Yeah.
All right, then let's get to work, everybody. Melissa Longo, will you please get us started off on the right track?
Yes. Like, this episode was so much fun, and I want to go to Riza because I really enjoyed their swimming suits. The outfits are supposed to be really hokey and questionable, but I enjoyed them, especially Vasha's swimming suit. Where is she? Over there. I don't know which hand, but yeah, I enjoyed her swimming suit. This episode was a fun change of pace that I really enjoyed. It was so much fun to see Picard finally letting his hair down, and relaxing, although begrudgingly, which was fun too. And so I have to say, Patrick Stewart was really wonderful in this episode. And yes, so pretty. That's so pretty. Yeah. Anyway, I thought his performance was really nuanced, and he was the curmudgeon-y, persnickety, grumpy vacationer to begin with, which I thought was really fun, and I liked that about him. But I also liked that he softened with Vosh and eventually, and I enjoyed their chemistry. When I saw this as a kid, I remember not liking Vosh because she was taking him away from Beverly, and but having said that, I did like the scene between Beverly and Picard, but also I liked their relationship this watch as I've matured and, so in that scene, how okay, I'm trying not to read the chat. Seeing how seeing the different aspects of Picard's personality, and I did enjoy her performance, Jennifer Hetrick's performance, and I think the casting of that was right on the money, and I learned some scandalous tidbits that I'm going to save for things left unsaid because it's fun and scandalous and gossipy. So you have to become a patron and watch Things Left Unsaid to know what this scandalous juicy morsel is. That's all I'll say.
I also, when I was a kid, didn't much care for the Vash character. Just kind of like, what's the... But now, as an adult, I'm like, no, she's actually really good.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Melissa Longo. Bad news, though. Jason M. Okun is here, and that juicy morsel is going to be his entire turn. Watch this. What do you got for us today, Jason?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll hold back the morsel because I might know what that is. There's a lot. Yeah, there's certainly a lot more to it. I mean, is this episode great science fiction? Nah. Is it deeply profound? Nah. Is it a lot of fun? Absolutely. And sometimes you just need an hour of fun. Everybody looks like they're having fun. I guess that's what put a start to Ira's Ferengi episodes, if you will, or at least a little bit of a taste to them. And having Max there certainly, in retrospect, brings things back. And I guess that's where Ram got his tooth as well. It looks like it's the same pair of teeth almost.
Yeah.
That they molded for him.
His snaggle tooth. Yeah.
The episode moves really well. If you look at the first, the first act on the Enterprise, I wonder if they even came up short just because of how fast everything was. It was almost shot like a comedy. But again, I mean, it was Chip Chalmers' first episode, so there's a lot of basically, singles here and there and here. He just kept moving very, very fast. So again, I wonder if they actually, were a little short on this, and they had to do something with it. But again, it was exciting to watch. I think, Patrick was good, and the Jennifer Hetrick is, their chemistry works, and, we'll talk about some of that later. But again, it's just, everything falls into place and makes it a fun hour. So, and let that be. Sometimes you need just that.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Jason M. Okun. Dr. Mohamed Noor, all the way from Duke University, is here. What did you think of their chemistry, Mohamed?
That was actually the first comment I had written down was like, they have great chemistry together, but like it's been said multiple times already. So yeah, I thought they were wonderful as a couple. My favorite scene though was when Picard like angrily hid that Horgon under the blanket. I laughed out loud at that. That was great. One question I wondered if it was intentional that Picard was so naive on so many fronts in the whole episode. Like he was just basically accepting what people just said as fact throughout the whole thing. I almost wonder if it was intentional. If like somehow he was supposed to be so taken in by Vash that basically it's just like, oh, these Vorgons are saying they're from the future. Okay. Oh, they're asking me this thing. Okay. I wonder if it was just kind of distracted from that whole thing because that seemed unusual, but it also seemed almost intentional. It didn't seem like an error or anything like that. So food for thought. But I enjoyed the episode. Always a fun romp.
Interesting theory. You're saying dudes can be distracted by no, we'll see.
Yeah.
I like it though. What do you think,
Carrie? Come up in the past a few times with people I know and myself.
Who knows? Riker's like, yeah. Carrie Schwent, what did you think of this fun episode?
Well, very, very fun episode. I love anything that's got our beloved, adorable Max in it. I took these pictures from the first cruise that we went on. We went to this cool nature preserve park that had these adorable little monkeys, and I got the fantastic shot of one of them up perched on Max's back, and he gives excellent hugs. After we took this shot, like right before he let us go, he gave like a little extra squeeze. So as a hugger myself, I love that. I thought he had a fantastic threaded the line very well between being menacing but not going into comically menacing. I thought he did very, very well with that. I loved his outfit. The colors in it were fantastic. And speaking of outfits, Picard's and Vash's outfits, holy Indiana Jones Batman. Like I expected one of them to have a fedora on that would have completely completed the look. And I feel sorry for whoever worked at that resort that found the gun that Picard just casually tosses over the wall. Like, okay, if you're not going to turn it in, keep it with you and take it with you, especially knowing that this Ferengi is hot on your trail. I love Bosch. She's fantastic. I gushed over her already enough back when we did the Q last deep dive on DS9. Her and Q's chemistry was good, but her and Picard's chemistry is 10 times better. And I have a feeling I know what Melissa's going to say, so I will not follow up with that.
Ooh.
I do think she would have made an excellent, if they wanted to make her a Ferengi, her character very much had Ferengi kind of characteristics, which is probably why Stovak liked her so much, because she acted like a Ferengi. Couple of very, 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 very quick fun facts about the episode before I finish with the limerick. There's the large landmass that when they show rise up from the ship that you can see before Picard goes down is Australia. I think Adelaide, is in that area, at least according to the little tidbit I found. And even cooler tidbit is Michael Dorn can be seen in the episode twice out of makeup.
Really?
In fact, both times, the very first couple you see before you see the alien couple, there's a couple walking across the screen. The guy is in a purple tank top. That's Michael Dorn. And later on, when Bosch and Picard and Stovak are standing there talking, he's sitting in a chair directly behind them, in the same purple tank top, just smiling. Looks like he's having just a blast because he gets to be on screen with no makeup on. So I bet he loved that. And the limerick for this one sort of ended up being a little bit more general. Kind of came out of everybody trying to push him into vacation. And the look on his face when Troy mentions Waxana just had me rolling every time I watch it. He's like, crap, she's coming. No, I see what they're doing. But he panics for that like half a second. You can see it in his eyes. But here we go. Troy and Beverly say he must rest. Riker says he knows the place that is best. But their advice is legit. In the end, he submits. He tries to read, but ends up on a quest. As someone who likes to read, it's no fun when you're constantly getting interrupted. But then he got that satisfying smack when he closes the book.
It's good. That was really good. Thank you very much, Carrie Schwent. Hang on. I think I may have found Michael Dorn in a shot here. Is that him in the orange booty shorts, right? The booty?
I think so.
Yes.
That back looks like his shape
so.
of back.
Because he had the purple
that's a
tank
purple,
top and the orange.
Looks like there's an Antic in here too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when
I'm
he's
pretty sure
talking
that is
to, when he's
Dorn.
behind Picard and Vosh and Stovak, he's talking to that Vulcan seated in blue.
in the blue dress, yeah.
And yeah, Chris McGee, you got the Andorian here too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Carrie Schwent. All right. Allyson Leach-Heid is here. She's going to spill the beans on this gossip, I bet. What do you think of this episode?
I've always enjoyed this episode. I've also always been a huge fan of Indiana Jones. So this is Indiana Jones, but with Captain Picard. So I definitely always liked it. And I always liked Vosh because she reminded me of the main female character, Marion. And she got to dress like her too.
Yeah.
Very, very similar costumes. I love the costumes in this episode. They are bonkers. Everyone is bonkers, especially the Rysians with their clear tops and very strategic seams. Both male and female, we were equal opportunity on clear tops, so that's fun. But yeah, that's hysterical. And everyone was super sparkly. The aliens from the future, they were super sparkly. And then Vosh and Picard got to use the rest of the fabric as blankets in the cave. So I love the sparkles on almost every single fabric, like Vosh's swimsuit, her cover up. Picard has shiny, very, very short shorts on. I think he probably asked, yes, those, for that over top for when he was standing, because if you noticed when they were in Vosh's room, that one half hangs lower than the other. So he was a little bit covered than running around in those little shorts. So I would guess he would have asked for that. But he also asked for a story like this. Stewart did. He wanted to have some more fun with Picard. And so he asked Ira for or everyone for this. So I'm glad they gave it to him. And sad no Geordi when the Enterprise is going off to go get, all the maintenance done and we don't actually talk to the chief engineer about it. Yeah, would have liked to see Geordi. And let's see. What else do I want to say? Troy is so cute in this episode with, threatening with her mother and then her little oh, and giving your, crab of yes, too often, Commander. So I'll leave it there, but I always enjoy this episode.
The too often line got a big, loud laugh from me. That was very good. Thank you very much, Allyson Leach-Heid. Cool shirt. Chris Marshall is here. Christopher D. Marshall, that is, with his UFP poster behind him, or flag. What do you think of this particular episode?
I've always liked this one. Even when I was a kid, and I thought the whole, romance thing was gross type stuff. But it was Picard, so it was different for me. It was okay. And I think a lot of that had to do with the chemistry, as so many people have mentioned, and as I'm sure is going to be mentioned later on, the reason behind that chemistry. But it was excellent. Picard played it off. Or Patrick Stewart played this off really well, especially in the beginning with his reluctance to go. And then I loved when he pulled Riker in and he's like, does everybody on board know about this little scheme? And Riker's like, I think there's 2 ensigns on deck 39 who know nothing about it. That one always makes me laugh. But yeah, I did wonder though about the Vorgons and the story about the Toxutot being buried, before or whatever. Was that perhaps a recall to a TOS episode? I'm not really familiar with TOS as well as I should be. So I'm wondering about that. I don't know if it is, if it's not. Either way, it's still an excellent story. And I think that's about all I have for right now.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Chris. All right. Another Chris who's seeking Jamaharon. Mr. McGee, the Dark Lord, is here. What do you think of this one?
Captain's Holiday. Well, as Allyson alluded to, I hope everyone enjoyed the sexy Patrick Stewart leg in this episode, which frankly is about damn time, given how often we see so many scantily clad women in Star Trek, including in this episode. I do find it interesting that a greedy and unscrupulous woman like Vosh is the sort of woman that Picard is attracted to. It's an pleasantly unexpected choice by, Ira Steven Behr that plays against type and the audience's expectations. A couple of other small notes that I haven't heard anyone mention yet. Kind of a bit of a shame that Eve isn't here today to confirm this, but I like how the title of this episode introduces kind of the British term holiday to mean vacation for American audiences who generally only knew the word holiday in reference to celebratory days like Thanksgiving and Christmas and so on. And towards the end, when I wonder if that little line is something to think about is when the one alien says, history records that you destroyed the Utat. I wonder if that was a result of the timeline changing at the very moment that he destroyed it, or if they always knew that that was the history, but tried to change history by coming back to retrieve it. Who understands temporal causality anyway? As for my memorable quote of the episode, there were 2 that have always stuck with me. And the one that I've chosen for today is, the more difficult the task, the sweeter the victory.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Chris McGee, the Dark Lord. Jake's final take. Cirroc, any final thoughts on this episode?
Well, Chris, I actually thought the first thing that you mentioned, which is that time had changed and that they registered the changing of the time. So that was what came across my mind when I watched it. But now that you bring an alternative, it makes, there could be other things too. But that's what I initially thought when I watched it. I like the look at the end when Picard kind of goes over the recap and says, well, they are from the future and they would probably come back and try to get it again. So we may relive this moment again. And that look on his face of like pleasure of reliving the moment in his head. I like that kind of subtext there. The little jazz that was playing in the background, I call that the Utah jazz.
Nice.
I believe it's the
Scottie Pippen there. No.
I believe it's the Utot jazz, right?
The Utot jazz.
The Talks Utot jazz.
Yeah. And I had a lot of fun watching this episode. Little things like Picard still being into books, like when I'm sure there's other ways that he can consume reading material, but he's like still old fashioned about books. I kind of like that. And even the line that Riker had, like, bro, you're bringing this many books, you go on vacation. How many books are you going to read? And I would have liked to see Riker kind of hand him a player's card or something like, here, this will get you 20% off. Yeah, I'm a VIP at Ryzen, don't worry. But no, I had a lot of fun watching this episode. It was a pleasant surprise seeing Max in there playing a different version of a Ferengi, kind of a prototype of what he would eventually become. And just fun. I suspended my science and all of the logic and stuff and just went along for the ride and said I'm just going to enjoy it. And I thought the beats were well played. Also did like Beverly kind of saying, I could make it in order, and the whole kind of playfulness there. So definitely a likable episode. I love Troy teasing him at the end, like she knows that he had a good time. Was it a relaxing trip, Captain? Like he's like, yeah, don't ask me. So ultimately, it was a fun episode. Good to see the captain kind of outside his normal stiffiness, which he was using as a comedy crutch in this episode a little bit. But it was good to see that. And I'm glad he didn't have any stiffiness, Ryan, to your facial expression, because those shorts were way too short.
I didn't say anything.
But overall, I enjoyed it more than I guess IMDb did, because I thought it was fun. And kudos to Ira for giving us a little playful moment, and kudos to Chip Chalmers, who had a lot of work on his hand trying to film on locations and wardrobes and all that stuff. So good job.
Mm-hmm. Before we go, Jason says that one of our big questions was answered in the script. What's that?
That's the question about whether, I guess the aliens knew that the Tax-Utat was going to be destroyed. There's a little bit there right before Picard and Vosh, sort of when they get past the Ferengi and go off on their trip. The camera's supposed to pan to the two aliens, so one says to the other, so it finally begins. And the other says, Picard must not be allowed to destroy the Utat. He will surrender it to us or die.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All right. Great stuff. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us and for not making too many jokes. We had a couple, there was like 40 jokes popping in my head, Cirroc, when you were talking, but I bit my tongue. Anyway, thank you very much to the Dark Lord, Chris McGee, Chris Marshall, Allyson Leach-Heid, Carrie Schwent, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Jason M. Okun, Melissa Longo, For myself, Cirroc Lofton, Aaron Eisenberg, and Melissa Longo, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. We hope to see you again. And until then, always remember the seventh rule.